All right, well, good morning, everybody. I think we got a great crowd this morning. This is, I think this is the biggest crowd we've seen, plus we have quite a few joining us on Zoom, so that's great. I'm Ron Brohammer. I'm the immediate past president of the Alumni Association. And on behalf of Tom Meyer, who is the current president of the Alumni Association, I'd like to wish everybody a really warm, big, great welcome. It's great to have you all here this morning. Tom is at a trade show in Indianapolis. He hopes to join us tonight for dinner. So you know, the working class, you know, you still gotta work. Yeah, well, I don't know. I'd like to start out. I'd like to just make a real quick introduction of some of our special guests. First, we have Dr. Eric Breivik, the dean of the school here. We're really great to have you with us, and he'll have a few comments later. Dr. Gary AGR, our illustrious advisor for our fraternity. Susan Graham, who I'm told keeps everything running behind the scenes. I'm not sure, but I think everybody pretty well knows Susan. And I don't think she's here, but I think we're going to be joined in a little bit by Allison Albritton. She's from the Fraternity and Sorority Life Office. I have a few words. I'm told a few words of about the fraternity itself. I've got my fingers crossed. That's positive. I'm pretty sure.
Clausen also.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. And one other special guest, our founder, Daryl Barrett. Come on, don't be bashful. Way back when, how many LEAC members do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 of us. As I stand around and watch all of you guys commiserate, I think there's not very many folks here when I was here 60 years ago. That's really hard to believe. Time does fly, doesn't it, Jake?
That's right.
As a way. So anyway, thanks for everybody for being with us this morning. I'd like to, I know it takes a little bit of time, but I'd like to just go around the room and just have everybody, if you would stand up, your name, your PIN number. We've got a good crowd, but let's do that so everybody kind of gets a name to face. So Chuck, we'll start with you.
Chuck Job, PIN number 199.
Paul.
Paul Merriman, PIN number 211.
Jim Miller, PIN number 255, alumni treasurer, excuse me. Also, live in Nokomis, Illinois, and I'm the vice president, senior loan officer, Security National Bank and WIT, soon to be Bank and Trust Company.
And he's running for president.
Jake Reynolds, PIN number 11. Charter member of LEAC and AGR, Carbondale, live Carbondale, part of it.
Paul, PIN number 160. I was there from 73 to 80, so I was out about 6 or 7 years.
Ron Coletti, Troy, Illinois, PIN number 138.
Wayne Coletti, Alhambra, Illinois, 170.
Dale Alaska, number 141. I live in Monticello in the central part of the state, and I was here from 72 to 76.
Bill Hopner, 171, live in Dallas, Texas, own a company up in Indianapolis, Indiana. I was here from 74 to 79.
DJ Martin, Waynesville, Illinois, PIN number 195. Was here from 75 to 79.
Cat Downs, PIN number 499, live in Edwardsville. Thomas Shore, PIN number 495, Red Bud.
Eric Kuzman, Grigsville, Illinois, 466.
Steve Wyatt, I live in Effingham, Illinois, pin number 57.
Carol Barrett, you already know the number.
Gabriel Davis from there,
All right.
Number 997.
Caden Harmon, pin number 1007.
Braden Hudson and 1008. Riley Cole, 1006. Zach Lamport from Barteldo, Illinois, pin number 1009. Logan Softly, 1013. Blake Davis and pin number 1012. Adam Loper from White City, Illinois, pin number 1011. AJ Sherlock, Jerseyville, Illinois, pin number 950.
Bruce Evelyn, the number 981.
Vlad Warrior from Athens, Illinois, pin number 975. Charles Lonergan, 878, Minear, Illinois. Jeff Carter, 826, Theotopoulos, Illinois. Adam Brummeyer, 802, Boylston, Illinois. William Schilling, 821, Warren, Illinois.
Brandon Reed, 1004 from Belleville, Iowa. Jason Weekman, 998, Flanagan, Illinois.
Baker from Decatur, Illinois, the number 1001.
Joe Page, 994 from Athens, Illinois.
I'm Trevor Dada, 999 from Rockford, Illinois.
Michael Bockel, I'm from Camp Point, Illinois, pin number 688. And I'm currently one of the 3 alumni advisors that we have.
I'm Riley McNeilis, I'm pin number 979 from Green, Illinois.
Charlie Connor, 991 from Rockport, Illinois.
Morning, Eric Lewis, pin number 325, originally Windsor, Illinois, living in Harlan.
Brad Clark, Louisville, Illinois, 12. Brady Clark, pin number 990, also from Louisville, Illinois.
Cameron Taylor, 995 from Kansas.
Chris Ramla, pin 996, I'm from O'Fallon.
Braden Balda from Lena, Illinois, 989. Joey Griner, Nashville, Illinois, pin number 226.
Dan Conwood from Reynolds, Illinois, number 223.
West Regan, in West Frankfort, pin number 233.
Jared Beery, 457, Paxton, Illinois.
Brian Patrick, 438, Columbia, Illinois.
Bruce Clausen, 386, Murfreesboro, Illinois, also one of the alumni advisors.
Gary Acker, I'm the faculty advisor for this group. My pin number is 610 and I'm from Murfreesboro.
Susan Graham, my title here is Director of Development, but I just kind of do whatever needs to be done.
49, I was a principal of Illinois, and I'm coordinating the side of it. Hi, I'm Greg Webb, pin number 201, and I live in Chicago. Morning, Sid Martin, pin number 676, living in Algonquin, Illinois.
Jerry Barkey, 437, Topless.
Kevin Miller, Alphonse also. Way too close. 212.
Al Osterlin, pin number 67, Albion, Indiana.
Rick Hyatt, pin number 45 in Pontiac, Illinois.
Rick Story, pin number 200, Elk Grove Village, Illinois. I'm the annoying guy that sends all the emails.
All right.
We got
That's
someone
great.
here too.
He does it.
Got some.
Oh, people out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You guys unmute and speak if you'd like.
Okay.
Let's start with Don.
You guys have to unmute. unmute your Zoom and then you guys introduce yourself at home, please.
Corey Hudson, Shelbyville, Illinois, pin 603, calling in from State College, PA.
Don Knapp, pin 30, North Barrington, Illinois.
Steve Calhoun, 68, Bloomington, Illinois. Jerry Saltwheel, pin 74, Bloomington.
You got a couple messages in your chat with their PIN numbers.
I
Go
can't.
to more, go down to more, there you go, click on more. I'm a Zoom expert, I've lived on Zoom now since, there you go, all right.
Aaron Hoskins, don't have a working microphone. Pin 538, Newburgh, Indiana. David Niepert can't unmute. Okay, he's pin number 326. All right, and is that everybody? And Zwicker, Dan Zwicker is there.
Calhoun and Saltwheel up there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got them. They said everything.
Yeah. Did I get everybody that sent messages? 1, 2. Okay.
All right, we got everybody. That's a great crowd. I think that's the best crowd we've had in a long time, and I hope we can continue this. I hope we didn't just come just because everybody wanted to see us buy it. As I said, I'm Ron Brookhammer, pin number 25, was from Coffee, Illinois, when I went to school here in completed my degree in December of '66. I live now in Lake Summit, which is a suburb of Kansas City. So with those thoughts in mind, I think too, I saw, yes, Allison, did you just scroll in? We have Allison Albritton. She's from Fraternity and Sorority Life, as I mentioned earlier, she's got a few words for us, and we'll get to you in a little bit. So thank you for joining us. Now it's my really great pleasure to introduce our Dean of the school, Dr. Eric Brevet, and he's going to share some of the words of wisdom of SIU with us, and who knows what else he'll tell us. So, Dr. Brevet.
And I guess please for me to be a little less formal maybe this morning and kind of sitting down on the job. I'm about 3 weeks post hip replacement at the moment, so I'm trying to avoid excessive time on the feet. But great to see you here today. It's always wonderful to have our alumni return. It's always wonderful our students gathered together for something like this. And so welcome back to campus for those of you that maybe been away for a little while. Wonderful to see. Just some things I'll say there's a few words. I saw I had a half an hour up there on the agenda. I don't know if I can talk for half an hour. I'm kind of a brief type of person, but certainly I'll say a few things and then open it up and there's questions. Let people ask questions and go from there. Obviously, one of the things that's always of interest is enrollment. And this spring, we're actually exactly the same number of students that we had last spring, in the spring semester. We're a little bit up on our undergraduate enrollment. This spring, we're a little bit down on the graduate student enrollment put them together, and we are to the student dead on last spring. Now, obviously, we'd like to grow, but this is the first semester in several years that we haven't lost numbers as a college. So we're hoping that we've hit the bottom and leveled things out, and that from here we're going to take a run back up and start adding. So the fact we didn't lose numbers, that is a victory for us this spring. That's a change from recent years. And a lot of people have worked very hard to try to get to that point where we're not losing students any longer. I will also say on the graduate student front, so we are slightly down on the graduate student front, but as a college, we are the most active research college on this campus. We have more than twice as many grants as any other college on this campus, here in CALPS. And we educate more graduate students than any other college on this campus. So our graduate numbers are a little bit down at the moment, but we're still, we're right up there at the head of the university in terms of that aspect of what we do. Those are all some positive things. It's not necessarily agriculture per se, but a huge event for our college this year is the eclipse, which is coming up on the 8th of April. Maybe you've heard something somewhere about that. Certainly if you've been around campus at all or been listening to any of the communications the university is sending out. It's a big deal for the university. It's one of the biggest things the university has going on, but all that's being run out of our college. The faculty and staff that are primarily involved are out of physics, and out of the STEM Education Center. And then those faculty hold their appointments in CALPS. We do also have some of our ag faculty who have gotten involved. Brent Peace, who's an assistant professor over in forestry, is one of the leading people in a study where they're going to gather data on animal sounds and then what happens as we go into and around the eclipse. It's a big citizen science project. He's got thousands of people around the region who are going to be putting sensors out on their properties. They'll be tracking sounds for a period of time leading into the eclipse. It's several days leading into the eclipse, then across the eclipse, and then coming back out of it, looking at how animals react. We've also had faculty in our college who are on the agricultural side of the college who have done interviews and things. I know, for example, Aaron Perry of Animal Science has done some interviews talking about animals and eclipse reactions and such. I don't know if it's all come together yet or not. I know at one point in time we have some discussions going on, doing some work with honeybees and how they react during the eclipse. So we do have several of our ag faculty who've gotten involved in various, and I probably missed somebody too, off the top of my head here. But we do have several ag faculty who are engaged in aspects of the eclipse also. If you have interest in the eclipse, I strongly encourage you, come to campus on April 1st. We've got actually even that entire weekend. April 1st is the Monday. The weekend heading into it, we have a Comic-Con going on campus. We've got all kinds of like craft fairs and things going on campus. There's going to be a whole host of activities based around that. So if you want to experience the eclipse, it'll be a great time to be here. In fact, right now, a lot of, as we come to the eclipse, a lot of national groups that publications are putting out, where to go for the eclipse. And guess what? We show up in almost all those lists. We had a really good track record back in 2017. We're building on that. That 2017 success has allowed our faculty to bring in around $4 million in grant funding focused around eclipse activities. NASA Edge, which is their podcast, will be here in Carbondale broadcasting. Carbondale, the New York Times is coming to Carbondale for their eclipse coverage. It's going to be a big deal. Oh, that's I'm sorry. April 8th. I told I said the wrong day. My wife will shoot me. She's not.
I was just like, wait.
Yeah. But yeah, my wife is the actual physicist. She'll shoot me though.
Yeah, she would.
So yeah. April 8th is the day. It's a Monday. Other things, I don't want to steal any of Susan's thunder. I'll let her talk about specifics on fundraising. But I do want to say that she's been doing a really great job in the DO position. Last year, our college led the university in fundraising. And not just we led all the other colleges, we beat athletics, we beat the School of Medicine, we led the university in fundraising last year. And so I'll let her talk about specifics on some of the things that are happening on that front. But we've been doing quite well. Now, in saying that, I'm not saying to stop sending in your donations.
Please don't.
Please don't stop sending your donations. But, you know, all those, all of that fundraising really helps us provide our students with a better experience, whether it be funds that allow us to provide them with equipment or experiences they couldn't have otherwise, whether it is funds for scholarships. College never gets less expensive. And so we're always raising money for scholarships because, you know, it used to be I remember when I went to college, I got a full ride to go to college. It was $2,000. Pay all my bills. Students, how far would $2,000 go on your bills today? You know, so like when I was a student, $500, $1,000, $2,000, those were really nice scholarships. And certainly we're not gonna turn away anything people are willing to give us. I mean, everything helps. But, you know, these guys are paying something in the range of $16,000. On the tuition and fees front to come here. And so $1,000 is nice, but it's a very different $1,000 than it was when I was in college, when a lot of, we use alumni were in college. So we're always raising money to try to help these students out and try to get, you know, and we give out hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in scholarships as a college. And then each of our schools gives out scholarships every year too. So, but the more we can give, the more we can get out of these students, the more affordable, the more possible college is for a lot of them. So please don't stop giving just because we're doing well. But we are doing well. That's a great thing to be able to say. The other thing, that's kind of my quick run through. So the current happenings. I mean, I'll open it up and people have questions for me about anything in particular. Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I came down in September and you had an ag day at the football game.
Yes.
Last year it wasn't because of Labor Day weekend. Is it gonna happen this year? I'm trying to get my schedule down for fall. I wanna come down. It was gonna
Right.
happen.
Yeah.
The hope is yes.
The hope is yes, right. We don't have dates locked down yet. Those dates usually get locked down, probably early summer is when we really start talking to athletics about the dates. But yeah, you're right. This year, we looked, we tried, at one point, but the things just didn't align.
The Farm Progress Show and Labor Day weekend is
Right.
way too hard.
Yeah. So,
I will tell you, the problem right now athletics has given us some dates. We actually talked about in our alumni board meeting last night. Right now, the issue is athletics is trying to figure out how they're even gonna handle tailgates. There's an issue with getting tents and tables and chairs in this area out there to that tailgate. So right now, even if I wanted to lock in a date for the college, I can't because they don't even know how they're gonna handle tailgates.
The family weekend's like that third weekend.
It's the SEMO game. And we would love to have the college event then, but it's family weekend, so it's gonna be, and I would expect a lot of our ag alums will be in the field by that time. So we were looking at potentially the weekend before. I would love to do the SEMO game, because I think that would be a great one to do, but.
and I'll also mention, talk about some of the things going really well right now. I mentioned a place that we do have some challenges. We have a hiring, they're calling it a hiring chill instead of a hiring free. Right now.
Still pretty cold.
It's a pretty cold chill. And just in the dean's office staff alone, it gets deeper if we extend out to our schools. But in the dean's office staff alone, I am down 5 staffers right now that I cannot replace. We are missing a recruiter for the agricultural side of the college. We are missing an advisor for our pre-medical programs. I'm down an accountant, a business manager in the office, and an events and outreach person, which is what Susan's not supposed to be doing because she's supposed to be a DO now, but she's being DO / events because we don't have an events person. And at the moment, what I'm being told, all of these are being told, we're going to fill positions starting July 1st. The ag R&R position, the recruiter position, that is going out to be advertised now. But a real concern of mine is that we have missed an entire year of recruiting. Now, we do have a science R&R person, Terrence. Some of you may have met him last night or at least seen him last night. He received one of the awards last night. He's very enthusiastic. He's great on the recruiting side of things. He has taken some time to learn the agricultural side of the college. He's provided some assistance to that side. He's been to some agricultural events and worked on that side, but you can't do as much with one person as you can do with two. So, and then back to things like the tailgate, we're working on trying to get that kind of stuff, put together. But the person who normally would do it, that job is opened right now. I don't have a person actually in it, and it makes organizing those kinds of things more difficult. So there are a few things that we didn't do this year that we might have done in the past that we just don't have the people power to pull off. I mean, missing 5 of my staff is a pretty significant portion of my staff.
Dean Breivik at the Ag Banquet last night, Novi Seidenstricker was recognized for their considerable support. I'm not sure many of our alumni might know that arrangement.
Okay, yeah, no,
But they had a handful of people there, and this is really a fantastic, I think, partnership with it.
yes, absolutely. So yeah, S&N has partnered with us on an educational lease program for equipment out of our farms. This started about 3 years ago. Was when the first lease was put in place, and we've been doing it with them ever since. It has grown over the years. Initially, we had about $2.5 million worth of equipment out of the farms. I think an 8RX tractor, a couple of smaller tractors, combines, things like that, that were part of the original, some gators. They were part of the original lease. We've now grown it. Last year, we leased one tractor for them. They parked a second tractor out there. Or not, it's not a tractor, combine. We leased one combine, they parked a second combine out there that they could access if needed an emergency during harvest season for one of their clients, but we had access to it. We got to use both of them. We are expanding it out to Belleville. We've expanded the smaller tractors and such. We've got a spray coop that's part of it now. I'm probably missing something. I'm not sure I'm missing something in there, but the point is we have access to an awful lot of state-of-the-art equipment, and that equipment comes in brand new every single year as part of the lease. So it's switched out every year. Chris Vick, who's our farm manager, has made the comment in the past, and then Chris did his degrees here. And then he works as a research assistant here for one of our research groups from our faculty. And now he's working for as a farm manager. He worked on the farm as a student back in his student days. And he's made the comment that it's the first time in his 20-ish plus years of being affiliated in some ways with University Farms, that we can actually put students on equipment here at the farms as good as or better than what they have at home. Because we had a lot of stuff that was running on barbed wire and duct tape, out there at farms. It was pieced together, piecemeal, Frankenstein equipment, for quite a while. Yeah.
To build on Greg's point, didn't I hear last night, didn't they say 8.2 million?
This year, yeah, we're up to 8.2 million. We started off about 2.5 on the first lease, we're up to 8.2 million. We do pay a lease for that. It's an educational lease. We pay far more on their facilities. And, we have to, if we have equipment, we have to purchase it, we have to maintain it, we keep it running. What we're paying, our calculations are we're paying lease is less than what would cost us to try to bring equipment in and keep equipment maintained. So it is an excellent deal for us. And as a part of all this, this equipment comes in with all the latest deer software and such. So, we can collect real-time data in the field, yield data, spray application data, right on down the line, all the kinds of things, that are being used in the modern world to try to improve farm management. We can get that data off of this equipment, and our students can work with it, our grad students can use it for faculty can use it for research, our undergrads can learn how it works and what you do with it and how you use it. Again, the equipment we had prior to this lease, there was nothing smart in that. It's, you know, it was not smart farming. You know, it is this modern electronic farming. Yeah, Jake?
Yes. You talked about, being, have a shortage in your office across the, college and the school. I know the governor legislature give higher ed last year about a 5% increase. And, I picked up, heard whatever, that the, university has, cut either the college or the school something like $1 million. Is that true, or would you like to comment on that?
We have not had $1 million cut to our college budget, no. What's happening this year, and you're right, we've had actually the last 3 legislative sessions, there have been increases to higher ed in the state. What's happening right now this year is back in 2015-16, with the budget impasse, when the state never got a budget signed, the university had to borrow against our reserves to keep people paid, keep the paychecks going in, keep the doors open, type of thing. And we borrowed, I believe it was about $35 million out of our reserves at that point in time, over those 2 years, to keep things running. After that, there was a payback schedule. Over a period of 7 years, we were supposed to pay back approximately $5 million a year for 7 years and return that money to the reserve. This is mandated by the board, by our board. And this is the final year of payback. When they dug into the books at the beginning of this year to see what the final payback would be, we found out we still owed $12 million in payback. There were years past they didn't pay their $5 million. So they are scraping and scrimping and looking at every corner, crack, crevice, and cushion, trying to find $12 million. And that's why I've got open staff lines, is because if we're not paying somebody, that money can go to payback.
The distance and money, they also.
Oh, the distance ed money, okay, maybe what you're hearing is the distance ed money. Okay, yeah, all right, that one, yeah. So that was last year. That wasn't this year, that was last year, but yes. We had, as a college, we were told we had about $1 million in what was called a rollover DE account. So distance education, or DE funding, is money that is generated by teaching distance courses, online courses, or other courses that have some form of distance delivery. And when the university was first wanted to encourage faculty to develop these distance delivery courses, kind of the carrot that was offered was that the university split the revenues that came from those distance education courses with the colleges. So the university would take a portion of the proceeds from that course, and a portion would go back to the college where it was generated. And then here in CALPS, we split those proceeds. The college kept a piece, and the school where that money was generated, they got a piece of it also. So we had schools that were generating a nice amount of distance education money. They could pad their budget quite considerably by teaching distance education courses, and it could really help with the college's budget. We got a new vice chancellor of finance roughly 2 years ago now. And it's not her, none of this is her fault. I'm not putting any finger on her. She's doing some stuff that really needs to happen. She's finding stuff that we need to find. But as she dug through the books, it turned out that some point in time in the past, they've never told us who exactly did. But at some point in time in the past, somebody diverted the money that was supposed to come to the colleges out of that share somewhere else. And so I would get reports each year. I got a report that year saying, oh, you got $1 million of rollover DE money. And as she dug into the book, she found out there's not a penny in that account. So that's the $1 million that we lost. We were told we had $1 million, but no one ever put the money in the account. And we were spending, but myself and other deans, we were spending on the assumption that we had the money that was in those rollover accounts. Because we were told we had. So that's created its own financial, issue. Yes,
What is the enrollment now total for this semester with graduate, undergraduate?
total enrollment is, I looked at this number about a week ago. It's roughly 1,200 for the college. I try to give you an exact, I should have probably the number before I came in, the exact number I came in this morning, but I know enrollment's always a question. We're very, very close to 1,200, give or take a 10 or so to either side. It's really, really close.
In just agriculture?
That's the college, that's CAPS. Agriculture is roughly a third of it.
So
Yes.
what's the demographics, male, female, junior college transfers?
Yeah, our transfers, again, I can't give you off the top of my head exact numbers. We actually do have more females than males, in the college. Not by a huge amount, but a few more females than males in the college. Our transfer numbers are way up. Again, I can't tell you the exact number of transfer students on the top of my head, but I can tell you that this year, we are up about 20% on transfer students versus last year. We have a huge number of transfers, and that's something that we've focused a lot on. I've spent a lot of time going out and meeting people at the community colleges. Our recruiters have spent time at the community colleges. Our chief academic advisor has spent a lot of time going over our community college transfer agreements and renewing those and working with the community colleges to make sure everything's up to date. So we are up actually quite a bit on the community college front. And our freshman class is bigger than it's been in past years. We have more freshmen. We had about a 2.5 or 3% increase in freshmen coming in this year also. But our transfers are way up.
So the transfers make up the majority of the students, do you think, in the agriculture?
Oh, no, that's up 20% versus, one bit the year before. We do still have more traditional transfers, but our transfers are becoming a bigger portion of the overall. In terms of the overall enrollment, it's hard to know for sure what we really get we get numbers for any given year. So I couldn't go back. I don't have any kind of dashboard I can go back to and say right now, okay, so of all the students we have in the college from freshman through senior, what percent of those transferred at some point in time? I can tell you the percent that transferred in this year. I can go back and find the percent transferred in the year before, but there's nothing that no quick way for me to say, right now, as we sit across the college as a whole, this percent transferred.
They're counted as a transfer student when they come, and then they're counted as continuing students.
From that. So.
Oh, I have to say, as an ag teacher at Feed Advisor, the ag ambassadors, I think they bring up so much to the table. And I've had tried to have them, in my classroom at least once a year, and they do a great job. And I've had a couple of my recent students that came as a result of the ambassadors coming to our school. Thank you.
Yeah. That's great to hear, and we're very proud of that ambassador program. That's one of our gems, here at college, that ambassador program.
Could you comment a little bit about the university's prioritization of the farms, in terms of not only rebuilding maybe what a closer used to be, but also is in terms of recruitment, how big of a tool the university sees the farms as a draw? Talking about Adobe site instructor and the equipment, how do they view that as a recruitment?
Well, of course, as a college, we use the farm extensively. In recruiting, we run a lot of FFA events out at the farms. When we have ag students, prospective ag students here on campus, where we try to get them out there, see what we have. know what they could potentially be part of. Several, a lot of our faculty use the farms as a part of their teaching. So the farms are a huge draw for it. I mean, obviously, if you're gonna run an ag program, you've got to have the farms, right? That's a central part. The university absolutely appreciates everything that we do, like the FFA and hosting FFA events on campus. We do get a lot of press releases from the university on those kinds of things. There is concern at the university right now about the expense of the farms, how we cover it. That is not unique to us. I actually spent some time over the last couple of months, three or 4 months. I sent a survey out to a whole bunch of other agricultural colleges around the US. And, we're working right now. We have, actually Gary's on our farms committee. We have a committee of faculty and farm staff and myself, where we are trying to, work on improving our farms, how we do our farms. So that's part of what that committee is doing. I sent a survey out and to a bunch of other universities, asking some of the questions that we're trying to deal with. What's interesting is I don't care if you're a small underground only operation that's got a very small farm system, or you're a major internationally recognized land grant with dozens of farms across your state. Everybody that responded to that survey said we're struggling to pay for our farms. So that is something that we're working on right now. This is how to do that. Part of the survey was, how do you cover your farms? What are your funding sources for the farms? One of the things that I would really like to see happen, and it's something that's on our fundraising priority list, I would really like to see an endowment created that will generate funds annually to support the farms. So that's something that we are trying to work towards. That's one way of trying to address it. In terms of how the administration sees it, maybe a little more directly to your, I probably skirted some of your questions at the moment, so maybe try to get to a little more directly. They do recognize the importance of the farm for agricultural education, but there is concern about the expense of the farms and how we're going to cover that expense. So we're working right now. We're working to try to figure out how we can both keep the farm going, have them be strong, have them support our education, and how we can do so in a way that maybe lessens the financial burden. That's what they would like.
Any more questions? It's great. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
But you couldn't cut it. We very much appreciate it, Dan. You're more than welcome to stay if you like.
Okay.
We're pretty thrilled. Right now, Allison, I'd like to have you come down and share your comments with us. I understand you're going to tell us a little bit about fraternity and sorority life on the SIU Carbondale campus. Is that true? Well, all right then, come on down.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Hi, everyone. So like you said, my name is Allison Albritton. I'm the coordinator for fraternity and sorority here at SIU. I was hired about 9 months ago. I'm still pretty new to the position, but I've gotten to know a lot of the guys and a lot of the women in the fraternities and sororities, and I love it here. So that's great. My family all went to SIU. I went to Murray State for my undergrad. So yeah. They were a little like, but then I came here for grad school. I got my MBA and I graduated in 2020. So I stayed. I got a job here, and I'm from Vienna, Illinois. I'm from a farm family in Vienna. So I understand and I appreciate ag and ag education and the great work that you guys do. So a little bit about FSL. When I started, we were probably about 612, 615 students. And right now we're at 702, but that's before graduation. So May graduation always takes a lot of our students. But I'm hoping back in the fall I know we'll be up over 700 again. So we're growing a lot, we're growing fast. The students, GPA, I've seen GPA grow, slow, very slow, very, very slow. But, I've seen GPA grow and I've really implemented in them and told them that you're here for academics first, you're a student here first. I love my time as a sorority, and I know you guys love your time as being in a fraternity, but, academics come first. So I'm hoping to get that GPA above a 3.0. I know that's a big ask for some people, but, you guys can do it. I know they can do it. I know that they have the will in them to do it, and, they're just great students. In terms of recruitment, I know I said that we're looking to be over 700 in the fall. We are currently, but we have graduation. IFC recruitment, so with AGR being a part of IFC, we're looking to do a little, have an open house and get more students involved in it and get our numbers for recruitment up. And so that will see a big increase in your new members for the fall. Hopefully, that's our plan anyway. And then another thing with recruitment, I'm starting a Greek ambassadors program. So I know you guys mentioned the ag ambassadors program and how much of a big help that is. So I've seen that work and I've seen other ambassador programs work. And so for the summer with orientations and open house and stuff like that through admissions and new student orientation, I'm starting a Greek ambassadors program. So students on their admission or when they come to orientation, they'll mark, I'm interested in Greek life, I want to learn more, something like that. I'll select students, so there will be an interview process and application, and they'll actually be face-to-face with these students and get them involved and answer any questions they have about Greek life. And so I'm getting them face-to-face with these incoming students, whereas before, it was just a table with maybe a trifold, information on it. So I'm actually getting students there to see them face to face. In terms of AGR, they are great guys. I say I don't see them in my office much, and people are like, "Oh, that's not good." And I'm like, "No, that is good." If I saw them in my office every day, I would have some concerns. But yeah, I've gotten to know Brady a little bit as he started, and I got to know Wyatt through IFC and when he was a president last year. And you guys are doing good. You're working on your GPA. I know Brady said you guys are really getting down with study hours and stuff like that. You guys are really involved at the School of Ag. I'd love to see more involvement with FSL in general, community service hours, philanthropy, stuff like that. I know you guys can meet all the other fraternities. You got it. So, any questions about FSL? Anything I didn't touch on? You guys know about?
I think your recruitment idea and investment is tremendous. When you speak about open house.
Yes.
How are you putting that together?
So the admissions department on campus, they have open house throughout the year. Like it's an all-day open house event for students interested in coming to SIU. And then there's a new student orientation that happens. It's actually already started, but there also transfers, a lot of them are in the summer. And so I'm gonna have 3 students, once I open up the application, interview, select them, they'll be on the ground, talking to the students, calling them, emailing them, giving their thoughts.
So,
You're representing the sororities but I know our house is thinking about building always think about building one on campus here now.
yeah.
And then maybe there are any sororities, and which is strong with Alpha Gamma Delta, let's say Cap. Or any of the, I saw the Alpha Gamma Delta not even on campus at all, or if they're not here at all, but they had more money. Would any, have any of them been interested in coming back to Greek Row or?
So everyone is interested in coming back to Greek Row. That's the topic, the conversation that I've been having on the back end that I want to bring out and start having town halls with alumni, students, people on campus and stuff like that. But yeah, I want everyone on campus, everyone wants to come back on campus. I think it'll be a big shift in culture for students and Greek students as well, get them more involved. And I think it'll be a great thing. It's not an overnight thing, but
And actually, I can help you out with that in my presentation.
Yeah.
Because I actually
Awesome.
talked with Chancellor Lane this morning, so
Okay, perfect, yeah,
I'll help you out with that.
thank you.
Seems like the last 3 or 4 decades when I was here, there's always been the headwinds instead of any tailwinds on Greek growth on campuses.
Mhm.
Universities put up with this. They're not out promoting or beating our drum by any means. What kind of headwinds are we still fighting here versus nationally? Ahead of the game, what other universities are fighting, or are they getting more than us? Again, like the Greek grow and
Yeah.
this and support and functionality and stuff. Where we at?
So in terms of support on campus, just as Greek Life as a whole, I would say there is support around, but not all the Greek students put out the effort to receive that support. AGR, they put out the effort, but then there are some students that don't put out the effort. And then it hurts it for everyone. That's just, facts, which I hate, but I'm trying to get them more involved on campus. The Greek Ambassadors Program is one of my big things that I'm working on to get them out and for the campus and administration to see that they do care and they are here. But does that answer your question?
How many sororities and fraternities are there? Affiliated now,
We have 27.
how many of each?
We have 17 fraternities and 10 sororities.
Do all of them have a house of some sort or another, or some of them just?
No, so I would say maybe a fourth or a little over a fourth of them have a house off campus, over McMill Street by Quattro's area. But then there are some organizations that, don't have a house, but would like to if Greek Row was, a thing on campus, yeah.
Actually, I have a question, because I get asked this a lot from this group, but in terms of recruitment, to help them recruit.
Yeah.
We've had difficulty, because I've been on the recruitment side before,
Mhm.
so our difficulty is getting them access to cultivating and recruiting students as they're applying and coming in and looking at Greek Life. Is there a way, would your office be able to help facilitate communications where maybe AGR could send to potential students? Hey, we're here, we would love to connect with you on that front end and maybe help even get them here?
Yeah, so Slate, I'm actually getting trained on
Okay,
Slate,
good.
the beast that is Slate. So Slate is a program on campus and there's a lot of different functions and features on that to have access to students, what they're interested in, their classes and stuff like that. And so once I'm trained on that, I'll have better idea and better resources to help students like AGR get access to those students.
So there's your answer. She's gonna help you get that communication. We can't give you the students' information, we can't share that,
Yeah,
but her office will be able to
Mhm.
help you recruit those students as we're recruiting. You'll help us
Yeah.
recruit them by her helping us.
yeah. When I get trained on Slate and I just get access to other things on campus, another program, I have access to emails, names and stuff of people who aren't affiliated. People who like all of ag, maybe engineering, stuff like that. And when we have events like the Greek barbecue in the fall, I can send a mass email out to those students and get them here, or even just get the word Greek in their head. Just getting the word Greek in their head opens up the possibility of them being interested, and they see someone on campus wearing the letters and wearing the colors, they're more likely to start asking questions and then hopefully go through the program.
Of the number of fraternities and sororities, how many of them are gonna be financially able to build a house on Greek Road?
That's a question that we're still looking into, because it's not all of them.
But I'll also address part of that in my
But
presentation.
yeah, I was gonna say, we've got ideas to help them because we do want all of them here.
What, just one quickly, what do you see the role of the ambassadors? What do you see the role being?
The Greek Ambassadors Program, being, just like an orientation leader on campus. So an orientation leader is someone who greets the students as they come into campus and they show them, answer any questions they have, show them around. And so that's what my hope is for the Greek Ambassadors, is to introduce Greek life to them. There are some students who come to campus and they have no idea about Greek life.
Anything else? Okay, Allison, thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
All right, great, great thoughts there, I think, and, I like the whole concept, the whole idea that she's working on. That's great. Let's now, call up one of the, I think, most enthusiastic folks that I know. I like the, I know. She's really into everything and has been a great supporter for us. So Susan, Susan Graham, come on down and enlighten us on what's up.
All right, well, first and foremost, I want to let you know as we go through this today, I'm going to give you a few updates on the development side, as Dean Brevik said. And then I'm going to transition over to Matt Cupid, sends his regrets that he could not be with us today. I know, Greg, you've talked with him and the chancellor as well this morning. Both of them would love to be here, but they had to go visit a donor. It was a very pressing, potential large gift that they went to try to recover last night. So I didn't find out if they were successful or not, but hopefully that went well. So, but I want to also preface it by, as we go through this, there may be times I'm going to have to say I don't have that answer. And I'm going to be very upfront and honest with you as we work through the process of Greek housing on campus. We've had a lot of discussions. You could not have a better cheerleader right now than you have in Matt Cupid on this campus. He wants this done. Chancellor Lane wants this done. He also was a part of Greek life in his college days, and he is, I think, Allison, you would agree, he is a huge supporter of Greek life. So we're in a good place right now. The foundation has been laid. But let me give you a few positive updates on our college and on our fundraising efforts. As was mentioned, the SMP partnership we have with Side Striker Nobi, Jared Nobi and the group was there last night, and they have continued to work with us. It is definitely a partnership. It's a relationship. It's not just we're getting equipment. I am on the phone with them several times weekly. We have been able to even expand it beyond farms to Touch of Nature and even to athletics. So athletics now gets their gators from Sign Striker Nobi, and I expect that to continue to expand. The reason we've been able to do this was thanks to Director Costello, the state of Illinois Ag Director, and the state legislators, that they were able to slip in a bill for us. It benefited them as well. But there is a purchasing exception now, that if state dollars are not used, we do not have to go out for bid at that purchasing limit through state procurement. That has opened the door for us to be able to do more on campus with partnerships like this, and it's just going to help us. We're continuing to build that relationship to the corporate level as well. Dr. Brevik and I are going to be going to a Deere facility for a tour here the end of March to hopefully continue to build even at the corporate level. Very excited about that tour as well. One of the things of that relationship also is a connector to us. For example, the sprayer, the equipment, the planter, SMP is now working with Beck Seed. They're interested in doing a research trial on our farm with the equipment. That did not come from within our college. That came because of our relationship with Side Striker Nobi. So we're now getting research projects coming in from the outside through the partnership of equipment. And that is huge. We have a young man who's graduating this year that looks like we're going to try to hopefully maintain him to keep him here for a master's to do a study with the sprayer equipment. And John Deere is all for that. SMP is for that. So just an idea. It's more than just getting equipment. It's a relationship that continues to expand. I do want to say before you all leave today, though, I would love to get a photo of your #1 pin. And what's the highest pin that was here today? What was your number? 1013. 1013. I would love to get a photo of your #1 and your 1013 before you leave today. So if you don't mind, I'm all about getting pictures and documenting the history here. That's why there were so many photos last night. So, and even your original LAEC members, that would be great to get all of you that were here. I think there were what, 7 of you? Some great things are priorities for fundraising and the campaign. We are still in the Forever SIU campaign. The college CALPS has already reached its original goal of 35 million. Our reset takes place next week, from what I'm told. And it looks like our new campaign goal for the extension of the campaign for another 5 years, I think it's through 2028, it's going to be 65 million, which I know we can attain pretty easily. So I'm excited about the reset. Our priorities is something we've talked about, and I'm tired of saying the word greenhouse, but that is the #1 priority, not only for the college, but for the campus and for the system. We have a friend in President Dan Mahoney who hated that he couldn't be here last night. He has personally told Dean Breffick and I that is his #1 priority because he's tired of talking about it as well. It looks like we do have some funding potentially coming from the state. Once we get our ducks in a row here, we're working with an architect through the foundation to get some renderings. Our drawings are over 10 years old now. So we're going to need to update those. Hopefully by the end of March, we have that process started. And we have a list of potential donors interested in supporting the greenhouse that we will be going and presenting this to. We will have to raise part of the money. The state is not going to fund all of it. And I want that done so that someday I can retire. Another priority we're working on is an ag education lab facility. It will be a multi-purpose, multidisciplinary facility with woodworking, small machines, and we have a donor that has stepped up and is interested in building and naming the facility. So look for more information on that. We are hiring an architect as well for that one. So as soon as we have that one moving, we'll keep you posted. And one that I spent a lot of time on lately, the past couple months here, is your AGR house. We've had a lot of meetings, done a lot of talking, trying to figure out some pathways. I feel like we've made some great progress. We do still have some unanswered questions we need to get through, and I'm going to talk through some of that here right after this. Did he mention the Farms Endowment? We also are doing scholarships. And one of the things I'm excited about is the foundation has, and it's actually advertised out there right now, we are hiring a second person to help me with development work through the foundation, but assigned to the college. They will be housed here in this building with me. They will work for me. They will work with me. They will have their own small portfolio, looking at cultivating some of those relationships and the smaller gifts and helping us get more things done. So there is an assistant director of development that will be assigned to our college. Hopefully, I'm hoping very, very soon. I've been promised this since last July, so I'm ready for this to happen. And with that, I won't answer any questions, but then I want to go into, Matt sent me a PowerPoint this morning on housing. And like I said, I have talked to he and the chancellor this morning. I was fortunate enough to spend Wednesday in Naples, Florida with the chancellor on a golf course with a donor. It was a fun trip. And thankfully I had a good golf game, so I didn't embarrass myself. Too bad.
Yeah.
Susan, can I toss one thing in real quick?
You sure can.
Yeah, we talked about fundraising also, we've talked about farms, and fundraising for the farms. But one of the big things that is being done now, we're getting into with the foundation, is naming opportunities. And so, there's the opportunity to name anything from the college, and a lot of universities have done this in past years, we, even name this college, down to say, for example, naming the beef center, out on the farms, and it would cost more to name the college than it would to name a school, which would cost more to name the beef center, but so if you happen to know of any either individuals or corporations that might have interests in certain aspects of what we do in the college and naming opportunities within the college, that's out there also.
And we have submitted a list of naming opportunities to the foundation to work through with as we go through this campaign. One I actually announced last night. We worked with Farm Credit Illinois and the lobby areas where you came into. Next year when you come, it's not going to look like that. It's going to be updated with new furniture, new paint. Branding, we're going to be branding it. We're going to make sure that Farm Credit is very visible. It will be the Farm Credit Commons North and Commons South. But we're hoping to create that area of community to start. There's students that used to and still do sit down there as they're waiting or between classes or waiting on class. We want to build a sense of community, places to get them out of their residence hall rooms, get them together with other students, collaborating, talking. Studies have shown the mental health impact so that students are out in community and not just holed away somewhere, but to find that space, but also to accommodate the current needs of students, such as charging electronic devices and being, so just having that area where you could study, where you could sit. Another one we're looking at, and we have someone potentially interested, is the romper room, the student lounge area. So many of you know it as the romper room. How many of you skipped class and were in the romper room? I've heard a lot of stories, even the dance world that was dressed up and photos taken. So there's a lot of great memories that happened in that room, but we do have a donor who is potentially interested in naming that space and renovating it as well. So look for more information on that. I'm very excited about that as well. And yes, we do need, if you have corporations, people you think that are interested in helping us. I know Steve has connected us with his neighbor. We're working on hopefully getting a little more equipment for the farms out there as well. Gift in kind. If somebody wants to donate, they still get the recognition on the amount that they've donated to us as well. So there's a lot of different avenues we can look at that will help us continue to pass this on to the next generation of agriculture students. So with that, do I have any questions before I get started on this part? All right, so, and I think Matt sent me this PowerPoint at like midnight last night. So as I said, we have been meeting since, Ron, was that like the end of September, 1st of October, we first started talking about this?
Farther back than that, I think.
Well, I know we've talked about it. Every year we come to Founders Day and the question gets asked. Ashley, Allison, you got spared, I think, some of the questions of past years. What about Greek Row? And for years you've been told, no, we don't plan to bring it back. Well, that is not the answer we're getting this year. And I'm very excited about that.
Trip on that trigger was when Tom and I met you over at Starbucks. That was the meeting.
That was a meeting. We met at Starbucks. They had actually met with, I believe, a real estate developer.
Yes.
About a potential property for the young men to move to. And I asked, give me one more chance before you sign any papers, please, to go talk to the foundation. And I left Starbucks and I went over to the foundation and I was able to walk in Matt's office and I sat down and I said, here's the deal. They are going to go find a house. Do you want them on campus or do you want them off campus? And if you would tear that house down, that building down across the street from your office, you're going to get a lot more buy-in from our alums who knew that as home. And I work at the foundation, I'll be honest, I work at the foundation because of Matt Kupek. He inspired me to do this job, or I would not be doing what I'm doing today. He is very visual and he is futuristic, and that's where we are right now. So he has fought a lot of battles already. He's got some scars already, I think, from this process, but we're still moving forward. We're not giving up. We don't have all the answers yet, but I'm excited that AGR gets to be the leader of this project. Because I like to be first and we're going to be first. So we're excited you want to be a part of the future and a possible new home at 116. Because how many of you in the room lived in 116? Yes. Did you live there? Yeah, you lived there. Yeah. So a large portion of you have that experience of Greek life on campus. A couple things I want to tell you that the comments that Matt and the chancellor made to me this morning. We're leading it, but we have to bring everybody else along. And the chancellor is putting it in the campus master plan. He is bringing together a group to start planning this overall project, but you all will be the leaders. You're the first mover. The foundation is supportive of this because this is what we do at the foundation is we are futuristic, looking for the future and moving it along. The foundation is hiring a consultant to actually work with us to get this done. And we're just gonna keep pushing it and bringing everybody with us. So that is, for those of you that may not know, that was Alpha Gamma Rho Fraternity House, 116. This is a master or history of Greek Rho participant back in the early 2000s. At that point, as you can see, purchasing was over there. I think was student health always in that building? That was always student health, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Law school had some housing across the street. And I will tell you, the law school is your friend right now because they want to see this project done as much as anybody, because that helps their real estate over on that side of campus. Right now, it's very hard for them to look out there and that's all they see are empty buildings boarded up. I've learned a lot through this process too on the history. So, the current SIU map, 2 of those buildings have already been taken down. 103 and 105 are already demolished. But this is just sort of the campus map. Although because there were 2 additional buildings on the original. I can't see it because I'm stuff. I'm gonna make this go away. That gives you an idea of all the different buildings over there.
105 was Delta Chi and 103 was Phi Sigma Kappa.
Okay. And in its heyday, I'm sure many of you could tell us some great stories about Greek Rho. I still wonder how much what is in the bottom of Campus Lake, but you know, that's time for that. So there's the current map. This is a virtual look at Old Greek Road today with the law school, the blue dot there.
Might be a better question of what's buried on top of Pork Chop Hill.
Where's Pork Chop Hill?
It's behind our house or our old house.
Right across the street.
Okay. And they say, the chancellor told the individual I was with Wednesday that I know where the bodies are buried here. I think you all know where the bodies are buried here than I do. So this is an overall look at our Greek life. 7.46% of our undergraduates are involved in Greek life at some point. You've already heard the number of sororities, fraternities. This is sort of a look, their size, the average size between the Panhellenic Association, Interfraternity Council, Multicultural Greek Council, and National Panhellenic Council. Right now, Alpha Gamma Rho, you look like you have 23. Does that sound correct? Do what? Okay. Okay, so this is information that we were given access to. Yeah, so it's at 611 and you said it's over 700 now. So that percentage is actually higher than that. That's good news. I have to tell them that. Our goal is to get 12 to 15% of our undergraduates, and I'm sure you're going to get that done. I think just having access to someone who can send out to help recruit, because that's been a major hurdle, is for recruitment. So, New Greek Road, to build a new community. On one side here, we have what was our old Greek Road. And then Matt has used an example of NC State's Greek village on the other side of what we could potentially, sort of a model we're looking at. They're looking at NC State. They've done this successfully. That's kind of where the consultant is, the person that was consultant for them is the one they're looking at hiring to help us start figuring out this plan. And I do kind of like this. Some of you may not like it, but the chancellor even mentioned today, potentially calling it Saluki Village. The New Greek Road, but call it Saluki Village. Just an option. We got a long way to go to get there, but. And this was from NC State, their Greek Row housing plan and mission. And one of the things that came up, I know Dave, you asked the question, what do you do? Are all of them able to financially support this? And the answer is no. We know that answer. But how they handled it in NC State is that line that's highlighted. There may be a need to construct additional university-owned facilities for rental to smaller organizations. And so there is this vision of potentially having options for those that can't afford their own house to be able to rent spaces and still have that access to them on the new Saluki Village. And so there's this information, we can give this to anyone who would like to see it, or you can go out there and see the NC State plan. So it has been done successfully. I will tell you that Matt and I actually met with the individual that's over housing at SEMO. They have actually built 3 houses that are now occupied, new ones. They have a model they use that we have gotten information on. The foundation has looked at hiring that individual as a consultant as well, because they have been able to do it successfully. So there's a lot of research going into what pathways can we take to get to where we need to be. One of the things we have to get through is demolishing all the old buildings. And I believe it was one of our faculty that said in a meeting with the provost, when are you going to tear those murder houses down? Because with them boarded up, they feel like it's a safety issue. We all feel like it's a safety issue. There's no telling who is living in your old AGR house right now. Because I think it's been unlocked for years. But so the current map, and this is the timeline that we're looking at. We have been working with facilities because there is money they have budget each year for demolishing of buildings. Our hope is this year, this summer, hopefully we get to tear down the old student health building and the AGR house. You will be the first one to come down. We are going to utilize a wet method because there is asbestos. So we have to utilize a wet method, which will get us around a lot of issues. We used that same wet method to tear down the greenhouse in 2018, 17 or 18. It was quick. They just kept water on it all day. They had that entire greenhouse torn down in, I mean, not even a full day. It was down. It was quick. So we do have that, and I will tell you, I've had discussions with Illinois EPA because we have 2 alums from the college that work at Marion EPA who said, let us know how we can help and we'll get it done. So we have the support of facilities, we have the support of EPA, we have the support of administration. They want to see these buildings start coming down. And the hope then is by 2029, the last of them will come down. But right now, it's 2 per year. So can't even see this top. I don't know, is there a way to move this to the bottom? There we go. So what we have learned from the others, including like NC State, the housing challenge is what we have. We had 1960s architecture, choppy interior floor plans, commercial finishes, double and triple rooms, shared bathrooms, a 50-year-old infrastructure, suburban office park type of village, and the university owned them. What students and alumni are wanting are traditional architecture. You still want the look of somewhat of a Greek house, attractive common spaces, residential finishes. Students today like private rooms, private bathrooms, modern conveniences. You want a curb appeal and alumni ownership.
Susan, will we have access to this PowerPoint?
I can give it to you, yes.
Thank you.
It's not gonna... There we go. So our challenges, like we said, for the smaller organizations, what do we do? And what we've learned from other universities is a townhouse apartment idea. So there may be houses over there that are more apartment style, townhouse style, rental options for smaller organizations. So it may be that they get to have 1 floor, which we're trying to go to 1 level because you get away from the ADA compliance issues of needing elevators, which are a whole lot more cost, as I think we've seen through this process. Flexible configurations to accommodate the changes based on what the individual organizations want to look at. Connect architecturally though with the rest of the village so it still looks like a common area, sort of like Wallen Grand looks, the apartments that we built, the newest housing we have on campus. So it still fits within the look, but and you can't just drop a residential hall in the middle of a Greek village. We know that. So working through those aspects, but making it to where all Greek organizations, all Greek life have the opportunity to live there if they want to live there. And coming up with those options. We're very aware of that. Other places have gotten to it. Something's got something in the chat. House farm clubs numbers. I would have to, I can go back and look at, I think. Are you I guess you're talking about farmhouse. The question on the chat.
Yeah, he is. He just wants to know what their enrollment is, probably.
It was 44.
I think they're at 44.
They're still about 44, right?
Yeah.
Susan,
Uh-huh.
the foundation or the university, have they talked about like this is all or nothing? This is all 27 have to be here, or
No.
only like 10 before they would be willing to move forward?
They're willing to move forward if we can pull this together. If you all are willing to move forward and we get all the details, we're moving forward,
Whether anyone else comes. or
whether
not.
anyone else comes or not. And I do think that whole, if you build it, they will come. Allison, you can probably speak to that. I think we're seeing that push from your USG president, who is also Greek life, and the students that are going in her office. I know the question comes up in recruitment all the time when parents are looking at campus, do you have Greek life housing on campus? And it's a hurdle right now for her office to try to get through. So we're not gonna wait for all 20 some organizations to say we want houses. We're moving. I personally, I would like to see your young men back on campus. I don't feel like there is real estate in Carbondale that's going to provide what you need in a safe location. And that is the most beautiful piece of property on campus. And I would hate to see another Greek organization build their house for AGR life. So does AGR have the capacity to raise $2 to $3 million? I think that's the elephant in the room. I want to thank those of you that participated in our old-fashioned kind of sit down and looking at the potential, what our potential is, and analyzing donor capability just by what we felt we knew and from our research at the foundation. We have a whole research division that knows more probably about each one of us than we might like them to know, but they do because it's public record. So here's from our old-fashioned sitting down and prospect analyzing in Effingham that day. We had a good time, didn't we, Kevin? We went through and we looked at your membership and came up with what we felt like you could do. Based on this information and with the help of some of your members, we feel like between the SIU research and the AGR rankings, that cumulatively you could potentially raise $3.9 million. That does not even include sitting down and talking about what corporations are supportive of AGR. What are your connectors? What are the families of some of your deceased members? Would they be interested in giving a gift and potentially naming? We haven't even touched that list yet. This is just from your membership of 1,013, did you say? 1,013 members. Where can we get to? This will include potential building namings, room namings, a donor wall. So those for the smaller gifts, there's still, we want to make sure, the goal is we want to make sure we recognize every gift. No matter what the size, no matter who it's from, that there's some recognition once that house goes up of your gift. I want to thank each of those that have met numerous times and worked through this process with us. We still have some questions to answer, but we've talked about the potential pathways. Our legal team has done a lot of research. We've actually talked with the attorney, was it in Ohio? And so I know that the foundation has had phone calls with our compliance officer with what can we do, because tax deductibility for gifts is a huge question we have. And I feel like several of us that have met on this over and over feel like you're going to need that tax deductibility to be able to do this project. I don't think you're going to get a lot of people to give a $50,000, $100,000, or $250,000 gift if they have no tax implication that goes along with that. And no matter what happens, Matt mentioned to me this morning, no matter what happens, you have a feasibility study now that has been done for you. So if for some reason we get to a roadblock where we see no pathway forward, and I don't believe that's gonna happen, we do know more about your organization now than we do when we started. Very encouraging. Oops. The arrow only works when it wants to. One of the things we want to be sure you realize too, the foundation assets and the commitment you have from the SIU Foundation as we move forward through this project. This is a graphic here of all of the employees we have at the foundation. And those circled are the ones, just a few of them, there are a couple more I think that should be circled, that will be assisting through this project as we continue to move forward. One is Matt Kupek. Like I said, you can't have a better cheerleader right now. I think, Greg, you could attest to that for me. He wants to see this project done as much as you all do. And he has experience now. So the foundation is building a new welcome center, philanthropy center on campus. We just received a $6 million gift to name that. It's going to be right where McAndrews Stadium used to be. He is now becoming an expert in construction on campus and dealing with the campus and with the gift side of it and how that works. So this project would not be the first one that we have done. In fact, how many buildings has he said we're involved in right now? I know Touch of Nature has one going up through the foundation, and Greg serves on the foundation board. So he's very in tune to all of these projects that are going on. A couple people that aren't, but I do want to thank are Laura and Ann on our research team, that second line. They are the ones who helped us with the list. They keep all of the records marked of the AGR members, so we're able to pull. I want to thank Rick for the list you gave me last year, because we had that done already. It made this process go a lot faster. I still think we're missing a few people, but that's just my personal opinion. We'll see as we work through it. And with that, I know that's not as in-depth probably as you were hoping for. A couple things. The 110 Higher Ed Housing and Opportunities Act. I'm not sure, Corey, what that act is. Is that we build the house for 2-3 men and then rent. That, I believe, has been one of our options, is we build and you all rent from on a long-term lease. So we have talked about a couple pathways. I might let some of those that have been involved in it kind of speak to that as well.
Is Al here? Is Al Osterlund here?
I'm here.
Yeah, do you want to speak on that?
Yeah, we have looked at about 5 or 6 different options, and there are, some of them are gonna allow some tax deductibility and some of them are not. But certainly, I guess I can go into some detail on some of those. One of the options, the very first option, was that we lease the land from the university, and collectively as a fraternity, we build a house. We would own it and operate it, and the only connection to the university necessarily would be on university land, and we'd rent that on an annual basis from them at a very reasonable rate. That did not allow for any tax deductibility at all, and that was, but of course that's an option. And I guess I'll have to say that we started out almost with a whiteboard, looking at, okay, so what's possible? The second option is really sort of a variation of that, and that is come along a little bit later and in our thought process, and that is that there are portions of that building that could be tax deductible, and that would qualify as education centers within that building. Whether it be a library, if that library would be incorporated in the chapter room like it used to be in 116. There could be other areas in that building that would qualify as education centers. And again, I don't know all of the details of these, but I do know that some of this, as I've had further discussions, with the Educational Foundation and AGR, some of this is possible. So, in that particular scenario, again, we would rent from the university. Part of our donations could be tax deductible, part of them would not. But again, we would own and operate the house, and run it that way. The next option would be that, we would totally donate all of our money to the university, to the SIU Foundation. All of it would be tax deductible, and at the very end, then we would give the building back to the university, and the university would actually own it. We would maybe help operate it, but it would be strictly a university housing, very similar to what 116 is. We didn't think this was maybe a real good option, but again, it's an option. We had to consider that. The one option that we found will not work at all is that we would donate all of our money to the university or to the SIU Foundation. It would all be tax deductible. And then our alumni association would form a tax exempt organization, and the building would be given back to our alumni association, which would be a tax exempt organization. That is not possible. We've looked at that. The IRS just will not go along with that type of scenario. But again, it was a scenario we had to look at, and looking at what all those options are. One of the other options that we looked at was, again, we would donate all of our money through the SIU Foundation. They would, in turn, at the very end, we would kind of run a split operation of that building. It would belong to the university, but the Alumni Association would be responsible for a major part of the operation of that building. The university would pick up, for example, the major maintenance of the building itself, mowing of the lawn, some of those types of things. We would have a kind of a shared agreement with the actual rent of the building. And again, this is a possibility. All of these things we've sort of run into. Those type of options, I think we've run into a couple of questions, because the lease on the land and those possibilities would not be a long-term lease. It would be a much shorter term. 5-year lease, I think, was what we were told. We had some concerns about those types of leases, because of control and what happens with the change in leadership at the university level. 5 or 10 years from now, I mean, when Matt and Susan are long gone, will we have the same support here at the university? And many of us that have been around for a while learned that that's not always what happens. Administrations change, people change, and sometimes we're left with people that want to make decisions to go in a different direction. And that's concerning to us too. I'm not trying to practice dying. I'm just saying that as we look at some of these things, we have to try and look at what all the options are. And what are possibilities down the road, because the decisions that we make here are not 5-year decisions. These decisions are 50-year decisions. And so what's going to be best for our chapter in the long term, and how are these things going to work best? We sure don't want to come back and try and fix this every year. Those types of challenges are just not something we want to do. So again, we've looked at a lot of different options. We have not settled on anything yet. And because there's so much to consider in all of these, but certainly anybody's input, we're open to ideas and suggestions and additional input because, again, we wanna make sure we try and consider everything that we can before we finally, come to final decision, so. Yeah.
Just to reiterate, to be clear, the 5-year
Hi, Suzanne.
is, IRS.
Correct.
Yeah,
It's not the university pushing that 5-year, term, it's an IRS. And Matt has really worked on that, trying to get around that,
He's trying to think of every way possible.
but it's not university bound 5-year, it's IRS rule. And that's the big stumbling block that we get on multiple fronts.
I will agree with that, and to fill you in even more, the Internal Revenue Service is not friends of fraternities and sororities. I will tell you, they do not like, and they've made this very difficult for fraternities, and sororities to exist through the revenue code. And this is one of the hurdles. So, you know, one of the other hurdles was that we can't form a nonprofit organization in order to hold this.
Because we're a social.
They consider you a
Professional
social,
Right.
yes.
And, you know, the question has come up, well, you know, we're partly professional. Yeah, we are, but the IRS doesn't care.
So
No,
to elaborate on that a little, what is the deal with that 5-year agreement? Is that because it's university property? Is it because?
It's because you're a fraternity.
It's,
Yeah.
okay, it's strictly.
You're
because
considered a social fraternity.
yeah.
So even though we would sign a 5-year lease for the IRS, what kind of guarantees would the school have with us? Would we be able to sign like a 25, 30-year contract for the ground, but then be able to release it every 5 years, but still have some sort of backing from the university on that?
So our next step is we're going to set up a meeting with housing to start looking at the pathways. And as I said, the chancellor's forming a group to make sure we have other Greeks to provide input, that this is not something you're doing alone. And to start building that model. And it may be a model where you all get to use this model and maybe the smaller organizations have a different model where it's more a smaller housing. But to build that model where both sides feel comfortable that we have you covered. We're not gonna rush into this. I mean, we wanna move it along because we want to get them in a house. But we also want to make sure we do what's best for your members and you all as an organization, your alumni group, and protect all of you. So we've looked at a number of different options of leasing, how that would handle, would it go through housing, would the students pay housing, your members just rent from housing, I think that's what you did previously on Greek Row. You had a housing contract and the members just paid their housing contract. That's a possibility. But I think too, we've got to get that model built, we've got to make sure everybody is comfortable with it. So I know that 2 things that we've been trying to get through is one is get that meeting with housing in person. And there was a second meeting as well. I think we were going to try to get the chancellor, but just know that yes, administration does change. No offense to Dr. Brevick, I've worked for 11 deans in my years here. So, but this group has always still been important to every dean that comes in.
Okay. You get this, however we do it, we get this house built. Potentially, if we get the donors, there'd be no debt, right? I mean, this is our goal, okay? You have no debt to a house. How is this going to benefit the brothers that are the new members living in this house? Are they going to have to still pay a competitive, rent, housing contract? Are we gonna be able to give them quite a bit of deduction in their rent? I mean, I know you gotta take in enough to pay the utilities and maintenance and all of that. There should be no mortgage payment, so
Therefore, shouldn't that be, savings to the members, to the brothers? I would hope. I mean, again, we're a little down the road on that, Jake, but I would hope if we could go into this with that, that'd be a real big help in terms of setting our rate in terms of, housing, for that, but, certainly that would be a huge advantage. We've got to take in enough to do long-term maintenance, like you said, and we have, certainly we're gonna have some long-term costs, but I would hope that our housing would be very competitive and be able to give a discounted rate in terms of the rest of our housing. That certainly would be a huge advantage.
And I will tell you, that was Matt Kupek's opinion, as well as we talked through it, that you all we will need to make sure we negotiate that you all have a discounted rate for getting that building there.
And hopefully too, I mean, as far as, again, we're never gonna own the land. We gotta get that out of our head because the university will sell it to us, but.
The state won't allow his state
Yeah,
land, so.
But, certainly our hope is to get a very competitive rate, a very low rate on actually renting that real estate, which again will help our operating costs in the long term.
Let me bring up one other thing that's come up in the conversations is we're talking about bringing back the commercial kitchen. So you will have a commissary and also we're talking about bringing in a full-time cook again. So we do have some expenses internally that we'll have to account for.
And it could be that the contracts would probably be split, or we would think about how those contracts would be split. Like we used to do on 116, we paid so much for housing and then we paid a meal contract. So, and that meal contract then paid all of your kitchen, all of your food and all of your kitchen help and all the rest of it. So there's a lot of going into this. And, so there's just a lot of moving parts.
And I wish we had all the answers today, but we have more answers than we did when we started.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay.
Yes.
So just so I understand, you're looking for a $3 million donation to build a house on land that we don't own, we'll never have more than a 5-year lease on. As far as control what happens in that house, rules that have to be followed, being as it's on university ground.
Yeah.
First part being, how does that get established? 2, if we're putting $3 million into it, say 10, 15 years down the road, we decide we want to remodel it, is that donations again? Can we leverage the equity in the house?
You took that picture.
What happens if something happens and the house has to be sold?
Okay. And I'm getting ready.
I mean, because you can't really do much with it because it has to go to the university, because the underlying real estate wouldn't be owned by the chapter.
Well, there's a lot of unanswered questions in that, but I think from my understanding was initially, if we put the money in and construct the house, and it's not given back to the university, the lease on that land could be a lot longer. The bare land can be much longer than 5 years. That could be like a 99-year lease. So the land itself,
That's why I have.
in that particular situation,
50.
Yeah.
is not an impediment like it is if the building goes back to the university. So from that standpoint, and I think, one of the other points, go again, which some of those other points you had. In terms of getting, if we have to sell a house, down the road, and again, we have talked about that. If for whatever reason the chapter, closed.
That's where the university would take it.
House or any number of reasons.
Yeah, it would be university housing. And so the university would take it, it would become potentially, resident hall or another chapter. So, yeah, you have to realize too, there's risk on both sides. So the university's taking a risk in doing this as well. We want to see your membership stay up. I mean, and you have how many years here now? So it's a long-standing history of this organization that they're willing to take that risk and try to find a pathway forward with all of you.
Is there, I'm no lawyer by any expectation, but is there any possibility that that lease would have value? 10, 20 years down the road, AGR no longer exists, there's another fraternity, you could sell your lease to them, that you would maintain equity that way?
It's possible. I mean, anything is possible. It just takes, creative legal minds in order to make some of that stuff work.
That's why I was really glad we were able, that everybody's connected. I know the foundation's connected, and I believe your AGR alumni have connected with that attorney in Ohio to start getting that. They're the experts. They know the legal ins and outs, the IRS. And he's right, the IRS are not your friends as far as looking at fraternities. If anybody knows any way to lobby and BC, go for it. Yes.
We talked to any of the other chapters with other universities to see maybe how the programs have worked and how they're put together, maybe a model for what we do.
Yes, we have. We've had some discussions with, I know Florida State just recently built a house. Tom and I had, just recently have had a Zoom call with Rex Martin at AGR. We've talked through some of the issues other houses have had on other campuses. They've kind of given us some insights on some of those. So we're trying to get as much information as we can from as many different sources. Again, so we try not to make some of the mistakes other people have made. There's no guarantee that I'm sure we're gonna make some mistakes, but we certainly want to try and we want to minimize that as much as possible.
I know we've talked to NC State, SEMO, UNC. I get emails, I don't know why or how, from Iowa State, and I know they're going through a renovation fundraising, but there's only like 10% of the donation is tax deductible because they're not doing it through their foundation or because of the way they're set up for some reason. So there's very little tax deductibility.
That's what the University of Florida, I believe, did. They hired a company, Pennington, and they did a fundraising, and they also used AGR National, their 501c3 housing fund. And they put some of the money tax deductible into the housing fund through AGR National. The Pennington raised the other part of the money to build brick and mortar. And then they had some legal person that knew all the IRS tax laws that was able to take the AGR money and put it into certain spots of the house, the library, anything that had to do with education, I believe. And then the rest of the money that was not raised through the tax deduction, that was brick and mortar. And then they built I think it was $7-8 million house, something like that. And they were moved from off campus to on campus. And that's why they did that and so they could have a longer lease. And not have the 5-year lease, which was the problem with doing it through some type of a foundation, or putting all money into a 501c3.
Yes.
On all the scenarios you talk about, whether the organization owns the house or we lease it from the school, on any of them or on all those, are freshmen gonna be allowed to live in the house? Does that change?
We discussed that.
If we own and manage it, or is the university not gonna allow freshmen to?
That's all his,
It's
decided.
I thought so. That still has to be decided, but I think that what I remember of our discussion was we knew that would need to be discussed. And I think it was the chancellor who has actually said that the Greek Village, SIU Village, Saluki Village won't, it may have different housing rules, that because we know you guys don't want to have a house over in the towers. I mean, that's not going to work. And so there's going to have to be rules for the Greek Village. And freshmen living there will be one of those things that will have to be looked at, because we realize it's important to be able to have freshmen in the house.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So everybody in here likes to have fun, and SIU is a dry campus. How would that get handled?
And that's where one of those things we talked about, we would have to look at Greek housing rules. I think even now, you have to go through a process to have alcohol at your events. So it would be, I envision it being sort of, you can probably speak to this better than I can. I envision it probably being that same kind of process where you're gonna be allowed to have fun.
Yeah, there will be rules associated with free house. That will have to be stand. Just like if there are rules we live under housing, this would be a little different because it would be free housing, but you can't just live there, you know. Which I know you guys know that. Yeah, there will be rules that we'll have to look into.
And I think there's probably rules for AGR in general to mitigate your risk if I'm correct, even now, so.
So not like, there's no alcohol allowed in the house, but there's no alcohol allowed on campus.
It'll have Greek housing rules. Yeah, yes,
Just a quick question, I was late to the meeting. So the objective is to tear down the old house.
correct,
Once there's nothing going to it.
correct.
Same location.
Same location.
Okay, my question is, in the past, we look at the old building that's stone brick. Yeah, can we cut that thing? Reuse the same building, and I was told there's asbestos in it, have to be mitigated.
That's why we have to use a wet
Tear
method.
it down. The asbestos.
So we're going to use a wet method that's approved by EPA. So that the cost to tear, the demolition costs are tremendously less. We used it on the greenhouse. And it saves everyone a whole lot of money. Yeah, yeah. And the problem with the current house, I think we even discussed, is it a possibility to save the house and just, you know, gut it and start over? You have a couple issues with that. One is that basement is flooded. I don't even think it's salvageable. Second thing you have is that it's not ADA compliant. There's no elevator in the house and it's 2-story. So that's why the plans you're looking at and considering for the future, and I think we found that from SEMO, we found that from several campuses we looked at, 1-level structures. And you get away from that expensive elevator, maintaining an elevator. I have a fear of getting in the elevator in this building, so just saying. We have one and I don't use it very often unless I have to, because I'm always scared, is that door gonna open? But yeah, so that's why, but it would be, and I wasn't a part, you know, of this fraternity, just from my years of being around you all, it would kill me to see another Greek organization build on your land.
Right.
So, yes.
So I'm gonna leave the building for everybody else, but the one comment I wanted to make was that when someone asked who lived in 116, and there's quite a few of us here, but then there's quite a few of us in here who unfortunately, after 2008, have never had that experience. And they've maintained this fraternity to be one of the spotlights on campus.
Correct.
And just imagine if they're back in one house again, how much higher they can be elevated. So I think it's a win-win. We've got to try to do this. We got to keep moving forward. I love the progress that's been done so far. But for you guys that never got to experience that 116 small group housing, please hop on board and help us, okay? Because we're going to need your help. And just think, as well as you maintain our fraternity to be the spotlight on campus, the guys coming after you will only do a better job being in one house. So that was my comment.
And it's the most beautiful piece of property on campus. You're beside the lake.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
As long as there's proper storage, how will firearm regulations be on campus?
That's something we would have to be worked out as well.
National organization already says that we're not allowed to have guns in the house, so.
And that's, I mean, you're still gonna have to abide by all your national organization rules and regulations. Just because we get you a house on campus does not mitigate what your national rules are. Thank you for that.
I don't want to really stifle questions, but we do probably need to press on a little bit. Many of these questions that you're raising have already been brought up. Some of them have been answered. Some of them won't be answered for a long time. They're in the discussion. This is kind of like a crucible right now. You know, it's a big mix. a lot of these questions we can't answer and won't answer for a good while. So we're really literally building the foundation right now.
And I'll say one last thing before I sit down. First of all, I'm gonna be around the rest of the day with you all here. I'm gonna escape to my office for a little bit while you all do your business meeting, yeah. But I also wanna point out to you that we did bring up was the fact that if we do fundraising for you through the SIU Foundation and get this project moving on campus, we don't charge you to fundraise. My salary gets paid by the foundation. The assistant that we get will be fundraising for you, and you are only charged. It is a 5% fee, which I think was lower than what Pennington charged. 5% fee that gets charged, but not until the gift comes in, and it's a one-time charge. So we're not charging you for research. We're not charging you for travel, for donor visits. That comes out of the foundation budget that is already set aside for me. Yes, sir, you had a question.
Yeah, the question, you said you're gonna tear down, the old house this year.
Yes, this summer.
So what is our ideal goal on of having a place built? What is
Yes,
our-
you.
Ideal goal of having a new house built. I would say 2 years after the old one is torn down, and that assumes that we can get a decent fundraising going. A year to probably get the final design and final build. So a year maybe for fundraising, a year for final design and build. The School of Architecture here is working on some preliminary designs and really a class project, believe it or not, that they will be able to present to us. Like, when are they gonna present?
May 1st.
May, they're gonna present those to us in May.
So with that, you're saying the ideal is to be able to move in 2028?
Oh, I would.
27 would be optimistic, 28 might be realistic. I mean, even if we had go right now, you're probably looking at almost a year for building construction.
Right.
So, yeah, I'd say 28 would be fairly realistic. 27 would be optimistic in my mind anyway.
We had hoped to allow you all to go over and walk through the building this afternoon if you wanted to. But facilities has told us that it is not safe for the public to be in. You're welcome to go walk around it. And from what I understand, there's been a door unlocked for years. If you get in it, I don't want to know, I don't care.
Back door to the kitchen, at least as far as I know, has been open.
Even that Q-Tech said, break the window.
By last night, somebody shut the library light off if you go in.
So yeah, if you get in there today, when I told Matt, I knew what I was gonna be told. I knew facilities was gonna say, yeah, no, you can't go in, it's not safe. But I know many of you have been in and out of there over many years now, and I don't care what you do in there, so I've heard the kitchen is still set up like it was left. I don't know.
Like they were at the door. Unless the lights got into it.
And yes, yours is the only one that's unoccupied. Now, Collier is where the foundation offices are located. My office is here in the building. I told him I wasn't moving. That was, I think, I went to Dr. Brevick and I said, if I apply and do this job, do I have to move out of my office? Because if I do, I'm not even gonna apply. And he told me I could keep my office, so I'm still here. But they had a major water leak this week in Collier, where the foundation is. I mean, they've had to tear the carpet out. It's a mess over there right now. So it should not be occupied, but your building is the only unoccupied building over there that is not boarded up.
Okay, let's.
Rough estimate of that? You have a rough estimate?
No, so we are working with an architect through the foundation to get a conceptual drawing.
We'll go over this in our architect meeting.
Yeah, so I'll let them handle that.
We'll go over this.
I want to take about a 5 or 10 minute break here, I think.
Everybody, it's time.
Let's take a real quick break.
We'll be
5
back.
minutes.
Just stay there. We'll be back.
Press on.